Hey folks, Kevin Noah here from Fight Designer LLC. This might be the last of these videos for a while because I am packing stuff up in anticipation of a move. Hopefully more on that later. But, with that in mind, I put some stuff over on the YouTube channel recently already as I packed up some of the interesting gun stuff. But one of the things that's been on my to-do list for a little while with the Fight Designer channel was talking about retractable knives. Now, this is one of those things that has definitely fallen out of favor, with good reason, in the stage combat community, but that we still get a lot of questions about from directors or props departments, in part because it's just kind of been one of those ideas of, oh, it's a trick knife, it's a trick prop, whatever. And it's also written into some scripts. So specifically, I'm thinking right now about Shakespeare in Love, where there is a gag written in that it is supposedly a retractable dagger, and so, that's why it doesn't do what it's gonna do. But here's the thing. Retractable knives are a mechanical device, and as such, prone to failure. And when that failure can involve people getting hurt, we're not generally going to be huge fans of that. So I have a couple of examples I want to talk about here. Now, yes, on a certain level, you can get these little plastic Halloween gag retractable knives, especially in the fall when Halloween is coming up. And because they're plastic flexible blades, they're probably not that big a safety issue. No one's really going to get hurt from this, I would imagine. I could probably do this all day, and the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to get bonked with a piece of plastic. But the other thing that's going to happen theatrically is they're going to break. Because what we've got is two little pieces of plastic and a spring. And eventually, you can see this one is kind of taped back together hastily, but yeah, didn't really quite do the job because some of the plastic bits on the end broke off that kept it from flying out. So in this case, what we have is almost like a ballistic dagger. Boing! We can shoot the blade. Not exactly what you wanted. And, they just tend to look kind of plastic, and everybody knows what they are. So this is not period enough a look for Shakespeare in Love, and it's not realistic enough for a film close-up, so it's like, well, what purpose does this really serve even? Because, in movies these days, sorry, I've been painting on the house a bit, these days they're just going to do a CG blade replace for any of this kind of stuff, and so it becomes, well, for live plays, do you even need that effect, or can you just cheat it offline or something? There's other things you can do, especially if you have like a folding blade, where you just find a moment where you can bring it down and fold it up, and now I can stab it in and look like I've got the blade embedded in something, but really I just folded the blade in again. Now, I realize not every actor is slick enough to be able to do that on a moment's notice and stab it straight back in, and then as they pull it out, flick it out again as though it still had the blade. But with a little bit of training, there's other gimmicks you can do. You can cheat it offline. You don't really usually need something that is specifically a retractable blade, unless that's part of the gag and you need to be able to demonstrate. So with these plastic and rubber ones, it's not that big a safety issue, it's just a durability and a reliability issue. But when we start talking about things like this, and this was your classic like 1960s, 1970s Romeo and Juliet kind of prop. I actually bought this one at a sort of a theater department yard sale, essentially, 10 years ago. 12 years ago, something like that, in Virginia. And I bought it specifically to show why these are not a great idea. And when I bought it, it was jammed shut. So I bought this and I cleaned it up and I replaced the spring and some other things. But this is your classic stage retractable dagger. And nobody makes these anymore, in part because the liability issues are just too big, and in part because it's not worth it. For film, they'll just have a cut-off piece of blade and then a little motion capture marker or reference marker for the effects team, and they'll just CG in the rest of the thing. They don't need the rest of this blade. And for live theater, we've just gotten so used to being able to cheat it offline, where it just kind of gets tucked under an armpit or something like that, or up against the forearm, and then pulled back out, where you don't really need this particular bit of gag. You can hear that for one thing. But let me show you what this is and why this is not the safety solution that a lot of people think it is. Because the problem is that people think that the prop means you don't need technique. And if you're like, oh, it's a retractable dagger, I can just stab someone. No. So first of all, that's as far as it goes. So there is still a bit of a tip of a blade sticking out here, right? I would not want to get stabbed with that. I don't think you want to get stabbed with that. It is not safe. Now, if you're going slow, and especially if you have like some padding or something, like a bit of hard leather or something underneath the costume, sure, you can insert this part way and it'll be safe. And if you've got a gag where it's specifically going in slowly, whether it's a slow suicide kind of thing, like in Romeo and Juliet, or if it's like the great kill in Saving Private Ryan, which is like, right, and that's that nice slow kind of pushing. No. Right, it can be really dramatically effective. But it's safer because it's slow, and if something goes wrong at that speed, you can always stop. But if you're just doing a stab, if something goes wrong, it's too late, right? If you miss the pad, whatever it is, right? So here's the thing, even if that did go in all the way, this outer section is essentially a diamond-shaped cookie cutter. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to get stabbed by a diamond-shaped cookie cutter either. So that all assumes it even works correctly. And the thing is that, you know, these things with live theater where it's used over and over again, they get gunked up in fake blood and you know, it goes in a little bit of an angle and it jams up and it just doesn't go in. I'm pushing in now and you can see it's not going. It's because I'm not pushing exactly straight. And now it's jammed up. Now it won't go at all. There we go, now it goes, right? But it takes a couple of tries, and I would not want those tries to be into my rib cage. So I'm gonna take this apart just to kind of show you how the inside works. Again, I replaced these screws and things because they were not properly functioning when I first got it, but you've got this nice long screw here. There's the guard. I'm not sure, honestly, who originally made this, if it was American Fencing Supply or someone else, but this spring goes through a hollow tang. So this is not as sturdy as a stage combat blade. So the other thing about these is you really don't want to do using one of these as like a main gauche or something and parrying sword attacks and then try and stab someone, which, again, sometimes people might be tempted with something like the choreography in for Shakespeare in Love. You might be tempted to use it in the fight and then try and do a stab, but by then it's already gotten pushed a little bit sideways and then it's gotten stuck. So again, this has been custom fixed by me. I took it back to the shop. I cleaned it up. I unjammed it. I oiled it. So it's moving okay right now. You can see it still kind of wants to jam a little bit sometimes, even if I'm not doing anything particularly hard to it. That was just gravity. Now it goes, and it's still sticking out a fair bit. That's just gravity. Oh, and now it's again not going. There we go. But there's these sharp corners here too. And none of that stuff's gonna be fun to get jammed into you. And that all assumes that everything even works mechanically like it's supposed to. So, this is why we in the stage combat community and the stunt community in general have moved away from retractable blades. It's just, they're not reliable, meaning they're not safe, and the fact that people think they're supposed to be safe encourages people to do stupid things with them, and that's gonna get someone hurt. And that is not what we want. So again, as a very specific historical prop, sure. If you need a film close-up of why this is a gag knife or something, all right, sure. If you have something where one of these kind of plastic and rubber things will work, okay, sure. If you really need that effect, this will give it to you, and they're super cheap. You buy a 6-pack of them or something online, and congratulations, you've got something for your gag. And you can find things that are reasonably close to this if you need if you need this to be like a stunt double for a more practical prop that you can actually use for something else, and then swap it out just before that move, and then have that reveal later. These are all options. What these are not, though, is a safe solution to how to do stabs on stage or on screen. So please keep that in mind. These are an interesting historical artifact. They are a moment in time They are a solution to a very specific subset of problems, but they are not a safe way to do stabs. So, as always, none of this is professional legal advice. It's just my opinion as somebody who's been working in the industry for a couple of decades and has gotten teacher certification and fight choreographed, fight directed over 100 shows for live theater and film and television. So, why take my word for it? I do have that. Will I rent it? Maybe. Only if I can get a very clear explanation from you of what you want to do with it and why. And I'm honestly not sure. I haven't ever rented it before. I'm honestly not sure what I'd even do for a deposit because nobody makes those, it's not really replaceable. And as a custom job, that's going to get expensive. So it kind of falls into those categories of custom one-offs of like, it's great for demonstration, but is it even practical to ever rent it out? I don't know. I'm not sure I'd ever actually rent that out, or that I will. But it certainly has its place in kind of the evolution of stage combat. So, I hope you found this interesting and illuminating, and I hope it dissuades you from doing anything stupid in the future. But until I'm able to make some more of these, this is Kevin Inoue from Fight Designer LLC. Most of my rentals are already packed up at this point, but starting hopefully again next fall, if you want to rent stuff, you can always go to the website or contract my services as a fight choreographer, fight director, or armor, gun wrangler, or whatever else. And in the meantime, you can always check out my books. I have the Theatrical Firearms Handbook and the Screen Combat Handbook, chapter in physical dramaturgy, some articles in the Fight Master Journal of the SAFD, etc., etc. So, have a good summer, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, look good doing it, and I'll talk to you later.